everybody. I appreciate Dr. C. Subramaniam, the head of the Department of Political Science and Public Administration, Annamalai University, for taking an innovative initiative by organizing a timely seminar on the topic entitled COVID-19 and New International Order. See, I just remember this great saying of our former late Vice Chancellor, Professor C. Chitti Babu. Once he said that challenges are our opportunities and opportunities are our challenges. So COVID-19 is a global challenge. But no challenge, no disaster, no problem will stop Annamalaians. Yes, I really appreciate the Department of Political Science and congratulate the teamwork of the faculty and research college. I thank Dr. Neelam Pandey for the general introduction also. I also would like to thank Dr. C.S. for involving me in almost all the academic endeavors of my university, my department. I also would like to record my special thanks to Dr. Ram Gopal, the Dean, for all his encouragement. Social science and social scientists are expected to initiate research, discussion, debate on the topic of relevance and importance. We are expected to initiate problem-solving research. I really once again appreciate the team for identifying the right topic. The topic of my lecture is the new international order and challenges ahead. The new international order after Corona and the challenges ahead. Before entering the topic directly, I want to lay a strong foundation by visiting history. History is normally divided by almost all scholars into BC and AD, but there is no exact classification of strategical history. The ancient, medieval, modern, and postmodern history can be divided. However, one important things we should know that the Solomon, one of the greatest, wisest king, once said, history repeats itself. History repeats itself. This important statement was empirically proved by Arnold Toynbee, the great historian. You know, the beginning of the establishment of state, a common unifying factor with common identity, was the beginning of the strategic culture. State is an organ, believes in action, interaction, reaction, and expansion, and above all, consolidation. Obviously, conflicts is part of history. History is nothing but conflicts, consolidation, expansion, protection based on some identities. What is history? One of the important definitions of history, according to me, is that history is nothing but war and preparation for a bitter war with a better weapon system. With a better weapon system. See, weapon system from conventional to atomic to chemical to biological, and now you know that the latest weapon system is propaganda, so on and so forth. See, human nature is reflected through his actions and through the state. See, the appetite for lands and materials and power compel humanity to go for ceaseless conflict. Humanity fails to attain maturity to live the art of living together. From the tribal states to organized city-states, and the greed of city-state resulted into empire-state. There are so many empires through history. You can see the great empires, from Egyptian empire to Roman empire, British empire, and current American empire. See, one important factor we should know that throughout history, world is in unorderly order. One form of unorderly order is replacing another form of unorderly order, because world is unorderly throughout history. Let me repeat. One form of unorderly order is replacing another form of unorderly order. The world is in unorderly order. Though there are some strategic historians, strategists try to put something in order. For example, they said that colonial history created some order, but it was in unorderly order. You know that colonial history and conflict resulted into the First World War. Then First World War tried to create some order, but it created more unorderly order during the interwar period. You know that there are so many ideologies emerge in this world. The oldest ideology, capitalist ideology. Second oldest ideology, communist ideology. Then fascism, Nazism, third world nationalism. So this ideological unorderly order created an unorderly situation in the form of Second World War. The disastrous Second World War was fought among the ideologies. The two enemies, the two ideologies, capitalists and communists, along with the latest ideology, nationalists, joined together to fight against the newly emerged three ideologies: Nazism, fascism, and Japanese ultra-nationalism. See, then Second World War created unorderly order. After Second World War, the world leaders tried to create an order in the name of United Nations, peace, decolonization, so on and so forth. But again, the world witnessed unorderly order in the form of Cold War, the two power blocks rivalry, the emergence of Third World, the proliferation of destructive weapons, including nuclear weapons. Of course, there was no direct war between the two power blocks, Soviet Union and United States of America. But if you see the history of Cold War witnessed more unorderly order in the form of more and more conflicts, more and more ethnic conflicts, border conflicts, insurgency, civil war, ignored the problems of Africa in the form of poverty, civil war, ethnic conflicts. Then regional conflicts like Korean crisis, Korean War, Vietnam War, Bangladesh War, Indochina War, so on and so forth. So no stable order was even prevailed during the Cold War. However, thanks to the nuclear weapon, which successfully prevented major war, Soviet Union, one of the superpowers with more than 10,000 nuclear weapons and 1/6 of the earth, collapsed. It closed society. Well-disciplined Communist Party, Iron Curtain society, propaganda machinery, failed to keep Soviet Union together. Too much of centralization of powers, black marketing, corruption at all levels, shortage of common goods, Afghan war, expensive Afghan war, arms race, then early democratization by Mikhail Gorbachev, all resulted into the collapse of Soviet Union in 1991. So again, world witnessed unorderly order. Saddam Hussein gave an opportunity for Americans to intervene in Kuwait to ascertain their superiority. Americans formed their grand coalition of 35 nations to wage a war against Saddam's army in Kuwait in the name of Operation Desert Storm or Operation Shield. Then after the great victory in Kuwait and the collapse of Soviet Union, George W. Bush Sr. talked about new international order. He talked about new international order in September 11, 1990. Just very interesting coincidence. New international order. His international order was post-Cold War order. It was a unipolar order. He talked about nuclear disarmament. He talked about LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Indirectly, Americanization. America intervenes in more and more countries in the name of democracy, in the name of human rights, in the name of regime change. So many interventions. And they try to appease Islamic extremism also. He talked about new international order, which was challenged. Then in 2001, exactly 10 years after, September 11, you know the famous Twin Tower attack, 4 attack allegedly by Al-Qaeda. See, George W. Bush Jr., the son of George W. Bush Sr., he talked about a new world order. The order was fighting a war against terrorism. See, in 2019, Senior Bush talked about new international order. 2001, Junior Bush talked about international order to fight a war against terrorism. In this meantime, we should know the rise of another superpower in Asia. You know the history of China. After the famous visit of Richard Nixon to Shanghai and Beijing in 1992, February 21 to 28, 7-day visit, helped the Chinese to go for a paradigm shift. This paradigm shift laid the foundation by Mao, consolidated by Deng Xiaoping. He was called the architect of modern China. He introduced liberalization and state-controlled capitalism. He laid the foundation of silent China, accepted, imported Western technology, Western investment, Western education, converted China into a manufacturing hub, utilizing the cheap labor with Western technology. Enjoyed with a stable government, well-structured Communist Party, disciplined People Liberation Army, committed workers, successive astute leaders like Deng Xiaoping, then followed by Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao and Xi Jinping in 2012. See, China developed itself unprecedentedly. The present leader Xi Jinping declared himself as a permanent president of China from 1212 to until further order. So in 2017 alone, China attracted foreign investment from 136,997 companies. See, this political consolidation of Xi Jinping and keeping the army and party together helped him to look beyond his capability and ability, we can say. The economic expansion through Belt and Road, exporting goods, services and commodities, technology to Asia and Europe, and capturing the market, and trapping the neighbors with debt trap. And slowly, it involved in territorial expansion, claiming all areas of South China Sea and claiming the territory of India and so many border disputes. See, however, China emerged as the world's second largest economy after 2010, replacing Japan. The growth of China created a lot of jealousy and insecurity among the Western powers. The dumping of Chinese goods in Europe, especially Germany, created a lot of question and disturbance. See, now latest irritation was that growing China's patent registration application. In 2019 alone, China registered 58,099 patent registration, 400 more than the Americans. So challenging the patent registration of America. Then 2019, Chinese 5G Huawei networking. See, these all created irritation. More than that, the Chinese trade surplus with America. Here, Xi Jinping, he tried to expand his area of influence. His dream to achieve 100 years of communist rule in 2049 and exporting Chinese commodities throughout the world in general and Asia in particular, and challenging American hegemony. So these things created disturbance in the minds of policymakers in America, especially the South China Sea. Xi Jinping was facing so many challenges outside China. He had dispute in Hong Kong, Taiwan, South and East China Sea, and Himalayan front. Now, China is the country without any major ally, except Pakistan and latest Nepal. It is having competition, problems with Vietnam, Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia, Brunei, Thailand, Indonesia. See, United States ascertained its policy of freedom of navigation in South China Sea because South China Sea is a route and home to finishing goods and source of natural resources and navigation. See, the tension between China and United States of America is creating so many irritations. The problem is widening day by day. The competition is widening. From 2015 onwards, America ascertained its right for freedom of navigation by sending its navy in South China Sea. Here, the COVID-19, created an opportunity for the Americans to create a new world order. See, every time, whenever there is a crisis, Americans know the art of converting the crisis into an opportunity. Saddam Hussein gave it opportunity in 1990 by occupying Kuwait. 2001, Al-Qaeda created an opportunity. See, Americans are known for utilizing each and every opportunity. Here, America involved in continuous conflict from Second World War. They involved in Korean War, Vietnam War, and so many things, Afghan War, Iraq War. The opinion of Americans and Chinese against each other is very bad situation. In this context, Donald Trump labeled China a strategic competitor, and he branched a new Cold War. He had some real reasons to start a new Cold War. So COVID-19 gave an opportunity. The trade war between the two giants started in 2012 onwards. So Donald Trump imposed a lot of tariffs, and increased visa restriction, and he condemned the human rights violation in Xinjiang and branded China as a currency manipulator and supported Hong Kong liberation fighter to contain China. The post-COVID international order may be in the form of American-led allies is waging a war against China to contain China. They form a new grand alliance, formally, informally. It's a multi-frontal attack. You know that June 5th, 2020, the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, with most of the Western countries, including European Parliament, they passed a resolution against China for human rights violation. Then there are efforts to hold China accountable for the COVID-19 pandemic. Then Democratic 10 alliances initiated by Boris Johnson in May 2020, Austria, India, South Africa, to attack China. The main agenda is to weaken China. Recently, America banned visa for the Chinese postgraduates and research students who had linked with PLA and other security agencies. China is now in a pitiable position to face so many fronts externally. Internally, they are facing so many challenges. One challenge is slowing growth of economy because of export curbs, then rising debt levels, loss of jobs in each and every areas of our manufacturing industry. Then rapidly aging population, another challenge. Then PLA's ability to prevail against highly capable adversary. You should know that China never involved in major war after Korean War, though they had limited war with Vietnam and with India. See, Americans are continuously involved in war, modernizing war weapons, from Second World War to latest Afghanistan war. Then China is facing another setback in the form of Belt and Road initiatives. Then at the international level, there are too much of centralization. There is no collective leadership. There is a possibility for opposition within Politburo against Xi. There are growing labor unrest in China because of 996 movement. You know that 996 movement is 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock work for 6 weeks. The laborers were forced to work. They had problem with Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, and Tibet. Then there are so many forced evacuation in the name of infrastructure building, unpaid wages, human rights abuse, unrest among the ethnic minorities of 55 identities, growing demand for religious freedom, protest against one-party rule, growing number of Western educated youth in China. See, China is facing so many crises within and outside. See, the American-led so-called Democratic Coalition is trying to convert the COVID-19 is an opportunity to wage a war, multi-fronted war against China, internally and externally. In 1989, June 4, you know about famous Tiananmen massacre. More than 10,000 students were butchered. Now, there is a possibility for more than 10,000 Tiananmen at the same time. No totalitarian regime will last long for more than 75 years. There's a possibility for a new international order in the form of a democratic revolution in China. See, what are the other new international implications in the post-corona period? There's a possibility for growth of nationalism and populism. There's a great threat for democracy because of concentration of power. There's a possibility for human rights violation and justification of human rights violation, especially labor rights. Again, there's a possibility for growing gap between rich and the poor, and consequently, there will be increase in poverty. Socially, there's a great challenge for community life, the cultural identities, and moral degradation. There's a possibility for trust deficit from family life to community life. The unemployment will create so much of violence, suicide, and social disasters like divorce. There's a possibility for so many movements against the one-sided reckless globalization, the corporate-led globalization, the new form of war in the name of robot and biological weapon, and more terrorist attack. As I already told you, one unorderly order will be replaced by another unorderly order, will be the order of the post-COVID. So, however, as intelligentsia, thinking people, it is our responsibility to think about solution. See, every disaster creates a new hope. New hope. There's a great saying by Edmund Burke. He said that when evil people unite, why not good people combine? It's appropriate time for the global intelligentsia to think about an alternative, economic alternative, personal alternative. Everything to start with our self-discipline. It is the responsibility of the teachers to educate the youth about self-discipline, how to protect ourselves, how to protect the social capital. The greatest social capital is family. How to protect the family values, morality, mutual trust. How to convert the family into a mini heaven on earth. See, there's a need for need-based life, like Mahatma Gandhi said. There should be a need-based life, not greed-based. On the other side, it is necessary to start a consumer movement to protect ourselves from the greedy, manipulative agenda of corporates, to help create health hazard in the name of food industry. Food industry is creating health hazard. So it is necessary to create awareness among the consumers. Then how to live a financial disciplined life. It's a right to start the movement to protect the labor movements, labor rights, human rights. And we should take an initiative at the international level for peace movements. It's not based on religious industry. One of the greatest contribution of Corona or COVID is cripple the power of religious industry. People are structure-centric, human-centric, ritual-centric, place-centric. Now, we have to think about the religion based on human-centric. Positive humanism, helping others, value education. We should teach the children that ill-gotten wealth brings domestic disaster. The most selfish thing one has to do is helping others. The most selfish thing one has to do is helping others. The world is facing a serious leadership crisis. It is the responsibility of the education institutions to create new generation of leaders with vision, with the vision for peace, vision for prosperity, vision for unity, not division. So this is the time. Go for a paradigm shift. COVID-19 is likely to create a new international order, which will be an unorderly order. The Western order may be a new Cold War or a third Cold War against China in order to put an end to China's authoritarian Communist Party rule. They started targeting the Communist Party of China than any other thing. They are creating a monster in the form of Communist China's Communist Party and PLA. So that the new international order they want to create, even try to trap countries like India to fight a war against China. We should be cautious. We should not allow anybody to trap in their net. So we should be cautious. Our leadership show maturity to solve the border dispute. India and China, the two growing economies, should know the art of solving our problem. So let them fight their war. See, we should be very, very careful in the new international order. For that, we have to keep our nation in order. We should keep the people in order. We should try to unite the people with the thread of love and trust. We should celebrate diversity. We should celebrate plurality. We should celebrate our democracy. Too much of centralization of political power, financial power will not keep a country strong. There should be more and more decentralization of powers, decentralization of resources. The higher education institutions should be allowed to free functionally to think about the future. We should think about the problem-solving research so that we can convert the new world order positively than negatively. We should not allow the American trap to convert the new world order into an order against China's emergence. Thank you very much. Now I am ready to take some questions. We have sufficient time. Thank you. Once again, I thank Dr. C.S. for giving me the opportunity for sharing my thoughts. Now, question.
Sir, are you able to hear us? Hello, sir.
Hello. Dear participant, I think our resource person is not able to hear us. That is the major problem.
Yes.
Actually, the interaction session. Sir, are you able to hear us, Lazarus sir? No, he is not getting our audio. So that's the major drawback in this session. It would have been a very useful interactive session. But in alternative, what we can do, we can allow you people to ask questions through WhatsApp, okay? And then sir will reply through WhatsApp. Let me try again whether sir is able to hear us or not, okay? Hello, Lazarus sir, am I audible to you? Hello? No, no response. So let me thank him. See, what a wonderful, what an excellent lecture we had. As I told you, no, he controls the word. The words are under his control. He plays with that. And a wonderful analysis he has presented, no, of the present, how the world will be after this COVID-19. And the term which attracted me most, no, disorder in order. Yes. Human race, no, it's
Yes,
a really
questions,
disorders. But in that, okay, sir, is it, sir? Are you audible? Are you able to hear us, sir? Sir, excuse me.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, please inform him through phone, Sivanesan.
No,
You inform, sir,
okay,
because he's waiting. Inform. Okay, through phone you inform him. Okay. So he has analyzed the emergence of China, how China is emerging as a new threat to, it has actually after Cold War, America was actually replaced by China. China was trying to push back America from its position, and that's why a natural enemy to America, and you know, ideologically also they are different. No, their ideology is different. One is communist, another is capitalist. Okay. So there is already a gap, and now America is really having wonderful chance to displace China from its economic position and other things. We should really, when nowadays we are watching news, no, we are seeing how India and China, they are confronting on border, and that is really a sorrowful situation. We must have a cordial relationship with our neighbors, but unfortunately India is not able to maintain very cordial relation either with Pakistan or with China or with Nepal or with Sri Lanka. And it is from both the side. I'm not blaming our country. It is policymakers from both the side. We are not in very cordial relations.
Hello,
so
ma'am.
I thank. Yes.
Ma'am, sir told that he can answer the question from the chat session, ma'am.
Okay.
So
Okay. It's a good news for people. Sir will be answering your questions through chat. You on your screen, you can see a chat option. You please pose your questions to sir. He will be answering you. Thank you. Thank you. Over to participants. Participants, please ask your questions through chat. Chat option is available in our Zoom app at the top.
CS சொல்லுங்க. ஆமா ஷேர் பார்க்க முடியுது. Okay. One question is about everything is clear with America. I already told you America is a hegemonic power. They survive on war and war industry, and that's why they want to wage a war outside American territory. In 2000, Russia it was growing like anything. It was a surplus economy. Then what happened? They created a Ukraine crisis to weaken Russia, and they crippled Russia. The same thing they did with Saddam Hussein, and because of the drastic fall of oil, they weakened almost all the oil-rich countries. Then China in 1990, they tried to manipulate the automobile industry. Then they successfully collapsed the Japanese design. Now, see, America is a hegemon. They allow a power to emerge in such a way that one day they will cut them into pieces. So they allow China to grow. Now is the time for America to cripple China by all means. That's the design of America. Obviously the second Cold War helps China to grow. Not only second Cold War, from 1976 onwards, Deng Xiaoping, he initiated the reforms. I told you the silent growth of China for continuously without any intranational and extranational problem. China main aim is to tie India with China. Alice Matthew question. See, from the non-layman onwards, China never recognized India as an equal country along with China. They wanted to play a leader of the shared world, leader of Asia. That's why they want to tie India within South Asia or within India, supporting the Maoists in India and aiding and assisting Pakistan. That's the design of China, and keep India busy with the border clashes. Then India, Madhav, India has always maintained cordial relations with other countries, trying to capture countries always. It is there. I already told you, state is known for expanding its territory. It's the appetite of all states. So militarily taking up China is a difficult task, challenging task, but it's not an impossible task. See, I already told you, China had a direct confrontation with India in 1967. We gave a fitting reply. Similarly, recent border conflict also. China's war with Vietnam in 1979, so ended with a failure. Vietnam had a better experience with the fighting with the Americans. See, Chinese army is not a fighting army so far. They never involved in major conflict. After that Korean War, in which more than 4 lakhs Chinese were killed, they are not ready to give the statistics so far. So what about the global leader? Now there is global leader. Global democratic leadership is, you see, very difficult to form a global democratic leadership.
Global or democratic?
You see, global leader cannot be a democratic leader. A democratic leader cannot be a global leader. You know that. So global leader will want to be a dictatorial leader. A democratic leader will never be a global leader. See, the thing is, there should be a collective leadership. Collective leadership. Pratibha, I already answered the question. What will be the situation of India after Korea in terms of the trade? India will develop, but the thing is, our Prime Minister is having a vision in the form of slogan. It should be in deeds. not only words. He has to take initiative to strengthen the state, encouraging the state to involve in more and more economic activities, to convert each and every state into a manufacturing hub, so that India can attract foreign investment like what the Vietnamese are not attacking, the Thailandese are not attracting. So many American Western companies are trying to leave China. Now we should know how to convert the crisis into an opportunity. Actually, yes. Can you explain the briefly nuclear disarmament? So nuclear disarmament is not possible. We can talk about nuclear limitation. No disarmament is possible. Disarmament is a utopian dream, because we have to give Nobel Prize to only nuclear weapon for preventing second World War, third World War. So nuclear weapon should be there. Let it be a silent monsters. Let it sleep silently forever. No problem. Yeah, Dr. Kulkarni talked about. He asked him the question about the problem is neighbors. See, one of the important reasons for problem with neighbors is the extraterritorial players' intervention there. See, now Nepal is ruled by Maoists. Maoists are traditionally anti-Indians. They are aligned with China. They are creating irritation without understanding the consequences. If we seal the road and deny Nepal this port accessibility, Nepal will be in serious crisis. About Pakistan, about Pakistan, Pakistanis are highly opinionated. You know that. They, along with China, is dreaming in a fool's paradise, thinking that India can be disintegrated, bifurcated, defeated, humiliated easily. That's a wrong analysis, a wrong paradigm. The strength of India not relies on majoritarian attitude, it relies on democracy, the pluralism. See, Chinese and Pakistani ambition will not be a success. Instead, there's a possibility for China to disintegrate. If there's a possibility for democratic revolution in China, China will be fragmented. Like Tibet will be liberated, Xinjiang region will be liberated, Hong Kong will be liberated. Likewise, there's a possibility for Pakistan to be fragmented again, the Balochistan. India will be united again and again. We are facing so many challenges. So banning, the next question is Madhu Diwali. Banning China products is not an easy thing. Now we allow the Chinese to enter in the Indian market. We are heavily dependent on Chinese laptop, Chinese phone, and Chinese commodities, cheap commodities. Now there are short-term policies and long-term policies. Only short-term, the consumer, the people themselves are boycotting Chinese good means bad. We have to take a people moment. The second thing is going for alternative. Without alternative for a long time, we can't prevent people from going for China product. So for that, the government of India to take initiative, to engage entrepreneurship within India, to manufacture cheap products. That's a long-term strategy. The second strategy is importing goods from South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, other democratic countries. Yeah. My question is, how about relation with US? Will it give boost to India to tackle China? See, there is a saying that there is no free lunch. Americans will not come for the rescue of India without any benefit. See, the hegemons expect the newly emerged powers to fight with each other to weaken themselves. So America may supply India with some weapons to withstand the Chinese assault. See, there are three options before India. One is solving the problem, going for a trilateral talk with India, China, Russia, India, Pakistan. Second, accepting American hegemony, leadership, accepting American security cover to become a member of NATO. to form a so-called democratic alliance, allowing the American soldiers in our doorstep, converting India into American satellite. That is not necessary. Third, strengthening ourselves in our walks of life. See, we should go for two-track diplomacy. One is to try to solve diplomatically. The second thing is to strengthen our defense forces and strengthen our economy. These are the two things. So totally surrendering to American desire is self-destructive for India. Yeah, India's the next question is Ravindran. Yeah, you see, that's a Chinese agenda is isolating India. Now they have succeeded in, winning Nepal, partially succeeded in winning Sri Lanka, and Maldives, already Pakistan. They want to isolate India. See, if you want to be recognized by the rest of the neighbors, you should be strong internally. You should have a strong economy. You should strengthen our economy. For that, there should be a new economic policy for strengthening the middle class. That's a different topic. I can't elaborate now. Good morning, sir. What should be the role of NATO if tension between? See, NATO, we can't expect NATO to fight a war with India. They may express skin deep support. Skin deep support means verbal support, like what the Western democracies contempt, not contempt Chinese the conflict, but they express their sympathy for India. Almost all the democratic states, they may help India certain extent, but in a total war, we can't expect any power, including Russia, to come our rescue. In 1962, only Commonwealth countries supported India. Soviet Union said that blood is thicker than water. They kept silent. We were unprepared, but we are better prepared now. Yeah, we can't expect NATO. Yeah, Afghanistan policy is concerned. It's another important disaster for Soviet Union as well as America. Now, the better policies allow the Chinese to enter Afghanistan. Let the Chinese PLA enter Afghanistan to plunder the minerals, so that Afghanistan will teach a lesson to China. That's but because now Afghan situation is a fluid situation now. Pakistan is consolidating its position. There's a great strategic threat for India in the form of Afghan Taliban and Pakistan Taliban. Yeah, see, America need a war now. America need a conflict. About the question of Ashok Das. See, I told the American economy is based on war and military industrial complex. So they continue to involve in naval exercise, war exercise, so on and so forth. They want a conflict in South China Sea. They never allow China to dictate terms. So China dared to attack American Navy. You know that for the first time, after so many years, there are three warcraft carriers in South China Sea: Ronald Reagan, Roosevelt, and Nimitz. 3 aircraft carriers are there. 2 nuclear aircraft carriers with so many dozens of nuclear submarines are moving in South China Sea, challenging China's assertiveness. So China is now blinking what to do. Attacking, provoking American Navy is a disaster. So America is trying to provoke Chinese. At the time, they are encircling China. I already told you they already started forming a global alliance of democracies. War against China is not a one-day process. It's a decade-old strategy. Slowly, systematically, Americans trying to beat China. Yeah. What's the strategy in India? Yeah, I already answered the question of Gulbir Ratmani of Afghanistan. See, this American withdrawal will create a new strategic scenario in Taliban and especially Pakistan Taliban. But I am expecting another civil war in Afghanistan in the form of Pakistan supported Taliban, Afghan Taliban, then Iranian supported Taliban. So there's a possibility for intervention of China. I am expecting that if China intervenes in Afghanistan, that's good for India. Medicine, if you want no, medicine, they will invent medicine, not by China or the Western countries. It is part of our business, not necessary to ban. My question, rise and doubts. Yeah, reapproach. Yeah. Yeah, strings of pearl theory, I already told you, it is not a great success. Strings of pearl theory is a more ambitious project of Xi to dump his finished product up to Europe, Germany. But the Germans, they started questioning the intention of China. Then even there are countries, they express their skepticism about the one belt, one road policy of Xi. Now, Xi is in a directorless position, to be frank. It's a confused position. He is the rarely speaking leader in international arena. Normally, dictators or people with so much of powers, they speak a lot. They speak a lot. Saddam Hussein, Stalin, North Korean Kim. But Xi is a deep man, rarely speak. But he is sitting in the volcano. He's facing so many intra-national problems now. He has to face so many fronts at the same time, not only against India, in Taliban, Afghanistan, India, Xinjiang region, Tibet, Hong Kong, Taiwan, South China Sea, Japan. So it's a foolish thing like Hitler who opened so many fronts at the same time. Result of disaster. So now he has no answer for the allegation of Americans about COVID-19. He branded COVID-19 as China virus. The whole Western countries trying to brand China as the culprit. So the implications will be too much in future. China has to pay a huge price. Yes. Communism, Kandil Kumar, communism is the best ideology in theory, the worst ideology in practice. The best ideology in theory, worst ideology in practice. Yeah, Muthukumar question, Dr. Muthukumar question. Yes, China partially diverts its attention of domestic failure by involving in border crisis in India. It's obviously right. One of the things is, it's a diversification technique also, but India is now well prepared. I have to appreciate Prime Minister Modi for doing a very good job in border security and developing border infrastructure. There are people who are criticizing. No, we have to appreciate Indian government. We should be with the Indian government. We should be proud of our soldiers. We should support Indian government for all the initiatives. Galmir, we get the number from the organizers for further discussion. Yeah. Director said we cannot defeat this pandemic with the David war. Dr. Kulkarni, see, divided, united we stand, divided we fall. That's a famous quotation by Abraham Lincoln. So we should be united to fight a war against the COVID-19. The Western countries succeeded, New Zealand succeeded, Italy succeeded, Spain succeeded, the Western countries succeeded. Now we are facing serious crisis. We should formulate our strategy to address the virus with our medicine also, our own strategy. We need not depend on WHO or any agencies. We should formulate our own problem-solving mechanism. Your opinion about Modi's foreign policy and Nehru. Yeah, it's a question about a lengthy question, very difficult question. Nehru's period cannot be compared with Modi's period. See, the success and failures of Nehru are Himalayan in character. One of the greatest failures of Nehru was trusted Chinese intention. See, the communists is an ideology of expansion. See, they trusted Chinese and humiliated by the Chinese. Otherwise, Nehru was proactive in international area. But Modi is also trying to emerge himself as a world leader, develop intimacy, friendship with all world leaders, gain respect, especially his foreign policy with America and Israel. Israel is a strategic ally of India. That's a great paradigm shift we should appreciate. I want to quote that Israel is the only country rely on self-reliance for security, finance, strategy, and everything. We have to depend on Israel for our defense-oriented technologies. It's a question from Sam Sundar. You see, Gallan Valley incident again is an opportunity for Indians to express our resolve and determination not to overcome by the Chinese. In 1967 we did, Koklam crisis we did it. This another episode. We already sent a message to China. You cannot take India for granted hereafter.
Dear participants, I think...
so thank you very much for all the questions. I hope I tried to answer my question. See, the organizer suggested me to put the end to the question. Thank you very much. Let us work for the world peace, prosperity, oneness. Thank you once again. I thank the organizers for giving the opportunity.
Thank you, Professor. And if we allow, I think we'll be sitting here hours together because the session was so interesting and so useful. Interaction was more interesting. We thought that we cannot communicate with Sir, but yes, there are some other techniques. So we could contact him, and I think he has wonderfully answered and satisfied all your queries. And now we are getting late. We have to get ready for the other session also. So once again, I thank all the participants and Professor Lazarus Samraj for his wonderful contribution and lecture to the session, and hope you will all join again at sharp 2:30 for the next session. Some people ask me whether both the sessions are compulsory to attend. Yes, it is for us only. All the session, all the days are compulsory to attend. I request everyone to join with video and please come back at 2:30. We'll meet you again. See you soon. Okay, bye. Thanks.